Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. I mean, this book is a phenomenon. It's touched millions with this huge promise of inner peace. But here's the big question we're tackling today. Is its philosophy a genuine goldmine of wisdom, or is the whole thing built on a kind of shaky foundation? Let's dive in and really unpack the debate it sparked.
Okay, so here's the book's central and honestly pretty radical promise. All that anxiety, that regret, the constant worry that just seems to follow so many of us around, Tolle says it's not actually caused by the world outside. Nope, it's a product of our own minds. And here's the kicker. If our mind creates it, he argues, we can choose to end it.
And believe me, this idea has resonated. I mean, look at this number. Over 50 languages. The Power of Now isn't just a bestseller, it's a global phenomenon. For a lot of people, this is way more than just a book. It's become a whole new way of seeing the world. So what is this new way exactly? Let's get into it.
All right, to explain his core idea, Tolle uses this really powerful parable. It's about a hidden treasure. And honestly, it's a story that gets right to the heart of what so many of us feel like we're searching for.
So, picture this. For more than 30 years, there's a beggar, and he's sitting on this old box, day in, day out, asking strangers for change. He's completely unaware of what's right underneath him, because his entire focus is on what he thinks he lacks.
Then, one day a stranger walks by and asks him a really simple question. Have you ever looked inside the box? The beggar just kind of shrugs it off. Nah, it's just an old box. But the stranger doesn't let it go. He asks again, have you ever looked inside?
And, well, the beggar finally gets curious. He pries open the lid, and what does he find? It's filled with gold. He's been sitting on a literal fortune the entire time. The treasure wasn't somewhere out there to be found. It was right there with him all along, just waiting. So, that's the story. But what does the gold actually represent?
Well, according to Tolle, that gold, that incredible treasure of inner peace, it's inside every single one of us. But, and this is a big but, we can only get to it when we really grasp one profound and kind of tricky concept. You are not your mind. He has a name for this. He calls it the thinker. You know that voice, right? That constant, compulsive narrator inside your head that's always judging, worrying, complaining. That's the thinker. And Tolle says freedom isn't about trying to shut that voice up. Good luck with that, right? No, he says it comes from just stepping back, from watching it, from realizing that you aren't the noisy thoughts, you're the silent consciousness that's aware of them.
Okay, this next part is key. Tolle splits the whole idea of time into two. On one hand, you've got clock time. This is the practical stuff, right? Setting goals, making appointments, learning lessons from the past. Totally useful. But then there's psychological time, and this is where the trouble starts. This is that habit of constantly living in regret about what happened or feeling anxious about what might happen. Tolle says this psychological time is the real root of almost all of our suffering. So, okay, we're starting to get this path to peace. It makes a certain kind of sense. But just as we're getting comfortable, boom, a major challenge comes into the picture. And it comes from a pretty prominent voice, psychologist and author Jordan Peterson. He offers this really powerful critique that doesn't just poke holes in it, it questions the entire foundation of Tolle's philosophy. And Peterson's critique is, well, it's blunt. He basically argues that this whole way of thinking, while it might give you some personal tools for feeling better, has a fundamental weakness. He says it's just not strong enough. It can't withstand a serious ideological assault with any real resistance.
So, where's this coming from? Well, Peterson doesn't just see Tolle in a vacuum. He places him within this bigger tradition that he calls the humanist movement, right alongside big names like Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. He sees them all as being really focused on individual self-actualization. And look, he acknowledges they offer some valuable insights for sure, but he argues their whole philosophical framework, the very ground they stand on, is ultimately fragile.
Okay, so now we've got a problem, right? On one hand, we have this really compelling idea for finding personal peace. And on the other, we have this very potent critique that says its whole foundation is weak. So how do we square that circle? How do we resolve this? Well, this is where we get to a really useful idea: becoming a discriminating reader.
And this really is the question at the heart of this whole debate. I mean, if the foundation is weak, like Peterson suggests, does that mean the whole building is useless? Should we just tear it down? Is Eckhart Tolle just wrong?
What's really interesting is that Peterson himself actually gives us the tool to navigate this. He says, look, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't have to reject the whole thing. Instead, a discerning mind, a discriminating reader, learns how to separate what's useful from what might be flawed. Or, as he puts it, how to pull the wheat from the chaff.
So let's actually try to do that. What's the wheat here? The good stuff? Well, it could be those practical tools, right? Like observing the thinker to get a little distance from your negative thoughts, or using the now as an anchor to ground yourself when you feel anxious. And what about the chaff, the potential pitfalls? Well, that could be the philosophical weakness that Peterson points out, or even the risk that someone might misinterpret these ideas and think it means they should just become totally passive and do nothing. It's all about using the tool without necessarily having to buy into the entire ideology behind it.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second, because this whole process of sorting the wheat from the chaff, this isn't just about one book. This is an absolutely crucial skill for navigating the entire modern world of ideas and self-improvement, especially online.
I mean, just think about it for a second. The entire online idea ecosystem, we're talking podcasts, YouTube channels, you name it, is basically built on this process. You have all these creators who are constantly summarizing, critiquing, and reinterpreting ideas from sources just like The Power of Now. In their own way, every single one of them is trying to sort the wheat from the chaff for their audience.
The internet is like this vast, endless field, and it is just overflowing with both wheat and chaff. The real challenge for us today isn't finding information, we're drowning in it. The real challenge is developing the wisdom to tell the difference and to decide what's actually valuable for you.
And that really brings us to the final question for you to think about. Whether the ideas are coming from Tolle or from Peterson or from any of the countless other voices online, the real power isn't just in consuming all that information. The real power is in building your own filter. So, what's your method for finding the wheat?